Hi, good afternoon. My name is Luis Medrano. I was born in San Diego, raised in Tijuana until I was 12, and then I'm now currently living in San Diego. So I am a native speaker in Spanish and went to a bilingual school, and so that's how I know English. So my accent would be West Coast, and I'm here to talk to you guys about politics and music, particularly in the recent era of 2015, 2016, and all that has been going on in the political scheme, especially right now with the elections going on. So my first topic would be about how music has introduced various political aspects to generations such as mine. I am currently 22, so politics is not necessarily the number one priority in many of my generation's uh, guidelines or agendas. But very popular artists have released various types of songs that have very political messages, and therefore has gotten many of us interested in what is going on in politics. One such artist that comes to mind would be Kendrick Lamar, who was born in Compton, California. He grew up amongst various types of violence, such as gang violence and domestic abuse. So his music is very biographical in some aspects, and also he gives his own perspective about the current political scene here in the United States. Probably his most influential work would be his last album called To Pimp a Butterfly, which came out in 2015 amidst all the riots that were going on, particularly Ferguson and Baltimore, in due to the police brutality and violence occurring against the African American community. Within that particular album, he gives a very detailed explanation or perspective, if I should explain it better, about what the African American community thinks about all these ongoing events, how they have faced so much discrimination, dichotomization from various ethnic groups, most particularly white Anglo-Saxon individuals. He says that mm, the N word that is so commonly used against African Americans from racist individuals is has actually been turned on its head, and its original word or its original meaning comes from an African language, which he doesn't specify, but he says that it is used to describe royalty and someone of a higher class or status, such as a king. And the racist individuals here in the United States, however, turned that into something very negative, something very derogatory that has always been used against the African American community. And one of his songs particularly speaks about that and basically lets the audience and the listener know that that message of hate will not prevail with the African community anymore. And by giving or letting people know the original meaning of that word, he turns one of the most damaging and conflicting words used by racist individuals against them. So instead, it's a term of empowerment. By doing that, he basically raise the African American community up on its feet and tells them to not be afraid to be who they are in the face of adversity, such as the police brutality and seeing the murders of Freddie Gray and Trayvon Martin, as how it's been recently. Another artist, particularly from the 90s era, that it was very, very influential in basically opening up a lot of the perspectives and skepticism amongst the American population during very strange times and times of concern would be Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine formed in the 1990s amidst all of at the end of the campaign of the Gulf War and all the propaganda that was going around and basically compared the United States to an authoritarian, a totalitarian kind of industry trying to control the media. Many of their songs deal with such a political message to not trust the government, to go and search for the information yourself instead of it being provided to you through television, cable networks, or newspapers handled exclusively by the government. So that definitely created a movement amongst again youth, people who would have been my age, 22, when they were in the 90s, and it just became like a domino effect. And as they progressively got more famous in the international scene, the message spread, and they didn't single-handedly start revolutions like, let's say, in the Middle East, or movements such as those, but they created a very different perspective than what could have been perceived to the American youth had they just been studying in school or just watching television. Say they told them to open their eyes, and it is very similar to what we're seeing today, and that is why I believe there's so much skepticism going around. And I believe this does somehow affect the um, presidential race currently going on, with especially with the claims about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, where there is so much hate or misconceptions about what they truly are, whether Trump really means what he says, or whether Hillary Clinton really says and believes what they actually say. So, I mean, it's definitely something worth thinking about, but music, I believe, is a very good avenue for artists to express their own feelings and at the same time have some sort of effect, mass effect on people, young people especially, who listen to them and want to hear their message. And definitely an influential way to spread around these ideologies, basically. And that is something I believe is very important, to consider in this day and age, especially with the ease of the internet, where you can access songs in the blink of an eye and listen whenever you want and however you want. And that is the message I wanted to convey to you today. Thank you very much.